Did you know that 1 in 5 US adults live with a mental health disorder? Or that back in 2018, that there were more than 2.5 times as many suicides as there were homicides here in the US? Mental health disorders are extremely prevalent in today's society, yet they're often overlooked and ignored due to the stigmas that surround it. That is why today I would like to talk about mental health and why we need to normalize it in society. To begin, I would like to talk a little bit about what mental health is and why it's a problem that we ignore it. Now, what is mental health? Mental health includes our emotional, psychological, and social well-being, and it can affect many different things, such as how we feel, act, and how we can react to stress. There are also multiple things that can cause problems with our mental health, and they can fall under 3 categories. These are our biological factors, such as our brain chemistry. There are life experiences, such as trauma and abuse. And finally, if there is a history of mental illness in your family. There are many different kinds of mental health problems, yet the kinds that we see most often are anxiety disorders and depression. Generalized anxiety disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, obsessive compulsive disorder, and social anxiety all fall under anxiety disorders. According to the Anxiety and Depression Association of America, there are around 40 million people in the United States that suffer from anxiety, and around 17.8 million people in the US that suffer from depression. And it is not that uncommon for people to suffer from both. In addition to that, you can also find symptoms of anxiety and depression in other disorders like bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, and even multiple personality disorder. Mental health disorders aren't that uncommon at all, but they are still not openly talked about. They're ignored mainly due to the stigmas around it. People believe that if you have a mental health disorder, then you're automatically crazy. This isn't true in the slightest. Yet society still makes people believe this. Schools don't touch upon these topics in classes like health. And men are told since they were young that they are not allowed to cry or show emotions because they can be perceived as weak. That's a whole problem in its own. Did you know that men die by suicide 3.5 times more often than females? In fact, suicide is the 10th leading cause of death in the United States. This is a major problem. Also, back in 2018, there were over 48,000 people that committed suicide, but there were 1.4 million people that attempted suicide. It's insane. Those numbers are so scary, yet we're still not normalizing it and getting these people the help that they need. By becoming more comfortable with talking about mental health problems and the statistics behind suicide, we can help normalize mental health disorders in the United States. By doing this, one of the easiest ways is to start in schools. Start educating students by starting programs. You can even advertise that there's counselors on campus more often to help students when they're in need. One problem that we do come into when it comes to that is the fear that students have when it comes to being afraid of being bullied over their mental health. And we can try to help fix this by telling students that they don't need to be afraid, that mental health isn't something that they need to be embarrassed by. Everybody goes through something. They're not alone in how they feel. According to a New York Times article, there are some schools that have actually implemented policies where students get 5 days a year, in a 3-month period actually, where they can have their days off to be able to focus on their mental health. Those are the kinds of things that we need to start implementing in more schools to help normalize mental health at an earlier age. Out in the community, we can start by putting on more free and affordable programs for individuals in need. Inpatient and outpatient facilities are extremely expensive, even with insurance. This can cause people who need the help to not receive the help. By putting on more affordable programs, we can help these individuals with mental health problems not feel like their mental well-being is a luxury. Now, I want you to imagine what the world would be like if we follow through with these actions and help normalize mental health. We could get those people the help that they need. The suicide numbers could potentially decrease because people will start feeling like they're not as hopeless and they can have an outlet to go to. They don't have to feel like they're going crazy. But if we continue going on the path that we have, suicide numbers can continue to increase. Those numbers are scary. They're insanely high, and it's heartbreaking to think that those numbers can increase if we don't do anything. The best way to start normalizing mental health is to talk about it. So if you want to help, you just need to start getting comfortable talking about it. You can do this by starting to ask your friends and family how they're feeling more. Ask them what their emotions are, how they've been doing. But don't forget about yourself. Start talking about your feelings and emotions as well. Don't keep it in anymore. Mental health is not rare. It can happen to anybody, including your loved ones and even yourself. All it takes is one person to start a conversation and start normalizing mental health in today's society. And that person could be you. Thank you so much for listening to me today.